Welcome back to the Get Set podcast, an old girls entertainment production where a neoteric meets nostalgia. We are a podcast demystifying the idea of an overnight success while highlighting the array of diverse jobs within the industry with a focus on women in the film and TV space. Today, it's your co-host here, myself, Jessica Payne, and
Monique Schwaneman. And today on the pod, we have voice actress DELILAH KUJALA. DELILAH started out acting from a young age and got her BFA in acting at Cal State Fullerton, just like me. She would do impressions of Herbert the pervert on campus, of the C-Sub hallways, all while preparing for her Chekhov scenes for her Russian acting teacher, who really changed her perspective on acting. And definitely, I can say me too. Since diving into the worlds of voiceover, she works in commercial, animation, corporate, training, explainer, video games, and voice dubbing. So like literally all of it. She's worked and then some. Some we got to get into because I don't even know what the difference is between training and corporate, but we'll get into it. She has worked with companies like Ring Security Camera, Chuck E. Cheese, Wells Fargo, Greenlight, NASDAQ, Netflix, and most notably, she voiced the role of Amazon Alexa in the two mini movies South Park Post-COVID and South Park Post-COVID, The Return of COVID on Paramount Plus. So just a few like little known companies.
Not sure if you've heard of it. But DELILAH started out acting in theater, musical theater being her first love. She then went off Broadway with the Shame of Thrones rock musical cast, which is a parody of the HBO's Game of Thrones. These days, DELILAH works full-time as a voice actor from her home studio in Los Angeles, California, and is a VO coach/instructor at UCLA Extension for pursuing a career in voiceover. Welcome to the pod, DELILAH!
Thank you. So awesome to be here.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on. We're so excited to chat with you. And let's just start at the beginning. In your own words, let us know who you are and where you call home.
I'm DELILAH KUJALA, voice actor, coach. Like you said, I go by pronouns she, her. I technically live in the suburbs. I'm in Santa Clarita, right outside Los Angeles. Nice and hot here right now.
So let's talk about what got you into acting. Where did you catch that bug?
Well, it kind of began as a kid. So my mom and dad, my mom was a singer. My father's a musician. He's been in the industry playing film and TV and stuff at the Hollywood Bowl, Pantages. I've seen him create a real freelance lifestyle from when I was very young. And so between him and my mom, who did get her theater degree also, she was directing me in plays when I was a kid and, encouraging my sister and I to go to acting classes and try to do the whole kid acting thing, which didn't quite pan out, which was good. So from a young age, I was always passionate about it. In high school, I did theater. I did show choir, for anybody who was a big fan of show choir.
Choir is intense. I did regular choir and that was intense enough, but show choir is next level.
Show choir is like Glee, right? Essentially.
It's performative.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. I was a big fan of Glee, but
well, the funny thing, so ours was super competitive, and our competitors, we were at Hart High, and our competitors, Burroughs and Burbank, were the ones that went on the Oprah show right when Glee came out.
Whoa.
And I was just like, what? And I just graduated high school a year before.
Like, this is my big break.
What happened? I think really from a young age, my dad would take me to sessions with him, and I particularly remember he was doing the movie The Horse Whisperer, and the composer was Thomas Newman. And I was sitting there watching them put music to this scene and just thought, how amazing would it be to make that into a career? My dad's a flautist. I played a little bit, but I mostly loved singing and theater and played piano. But I always was like, how can I do that as a career? And my dad was kind of encouraging me. He's like, voiceover for actors is pretty lucrative. You should check it out. And
one of the most lucrative, yeah.
And he said it to me for a long time. And I was kind of like, okay, well, I love theater, but, I'll think about it. Yeah, so I ended up, I did a theater conservatory right out of high school. I went to PCPA Theater Fest. It's in the Central Coast of California. And then I did a year in Chicago at Roosevelt University doing musical theater. That didn't quite work out. So I came back, took a year off, and I had to not transfer, but I had to go in to Cal State Fullerton as a freshman because I didn't have enough credits to transfer in. But it all
Yeah.
worked out.
It sure did,
Oh my
because it's
God.
hard to get into the BFA, and yeah, you killed it.
Yeah, it was wild. Yeah, at that time we had a jury. I think it's a little different, but you had to go through 2 years of training and then jury for the last 2 years to get into the program. And I originally wanted to do the musical theater program.
Yep.
At the time, my dad knew the head there and he was like, it's the best. And I really thought that's where my life was going. But then I didn't get in. And it was the best, decision for me was getting into the acting program. And as Monique mentioned, we had this amazing mentor, Svetlana. She was just so badass and terrifying, but like I grew so much and have so much admiration for her and just how she changed my life as an actor. But yeah, so then after graduation, I was like, I just want to sing. And so I did some like singing sessions here and there, and I did musical theater, but I was like trying to detox actually from acting and theater. And I think my first professional like on-camera gig, it was a Lifetime, the series where they're like recreating these things that actually happened. It was one of those.
Yeah.
I'm sure we all had one of those. But I was like, it was an exciting time and I enjoyed it. But I never really found my niche in terms of film acting. Like I enjoyed it, but I think there was always this tendency for me to just be a little shy, be a little bit, have a lot of like stage fright and just perfectionism to the T. And
perfectionism, I can see. The shyness is wild to hear come out of your mouth, but that's true. I mean, we all have our things, Yeah.
Yeah. And I just like, I was waiting for that thing, that spark, and joining the Shame of Thrones musical parody was like,
hilarious.
That was so much fun. We started in LA like the year we did a run at Comic-Con, like that week, that summer. Beforehand, we did a whole 11-week show and it was so amazing. And I, made some of the best friends that I've ever had. And then we took it to off-Broadway, like right across from where they do Wicked. And it was just such a freaking dream come true. But then, I got married the next year, kind of took some time off. And it was really in between all that, I had taken a couple of voiceover classes, was kind of like, oh, this is awesome, but I kind of want to do it on the side. Like, I don't think I want to like fully do it. And it wasn't until I think the end of 2019, I booked my first voiceover job with Ring Security Camera. And that was really where everything like shifted. So I used a pay-to-play platform, Voice 123. I know it's controversial, but that's where I've gotten a lot of my bigger gigs from. And when you're starting off, like you gotta kind of get your foot in the door however you can. And that, eventually led to like getting signed with an agent and stuff like that. But they were the ones that told me, they're like, hey, if you have a recording studio at home, we can just call you and then you can just record the sessions or whatnot from your house. So 2020, January, Adam and I, my husband, we started building in our 1-bedroom Valley Village apartment. We were building a studio closet, getting like foam, collecting like, new microphone, the interface, like all the stuff.
Yeah.
And little did we know, March 2020,
excellent
shut down.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Possible.
Yeah. So that really like that year I'd made this determination that I really wanted to quit my day job. I had a great time doing it, but I was doing it for like 7 years. It was teaching science at these after school programs. They wanted actors to make it cool and fun.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to like launch myself.
So exhausting because you physically have to drive and go somewhere and travel to these different schools, probably, I'm assuming.
Yep. All over LA.
You're in that, which is terribly time consuming because like you could be driving an hour for like a couple hours of work, maybe, and then driving an hour back home. That's a huge drain on your time and energy.
Totally.
As gratifying as it probably was, and like seeing, like, wow, I'm making a difference. Like, I'm sure you definitely made a difference, but it's draining for sure.
It was definitely, and I just was kind of at this pivotal place of like, okay, I need to like do, leap and the net will appear, right? And well, 2020 happened, and that forced that thing to happen. And so then I really decided that year, I want to learn everything I can about voiceover, about editing, recording. I took classes that were online, and I recorded this audiobook that was the bane of my existence. I don't do audiobooks because of it. Like, I literally got a pinched nerve from sitting in the hot closet, like editing, hunched over, trying to stop and start because of the noise in my neighborhood, the laundry room, people, slamming doors. But it was the best training, I think, in terms of, the patience it takes in learning a new skill, letting go of I don't have control. And when I'm in my home studio, I don't have control over my neighbors and the noise. And I'm still learning that right now, of just let it go. If there's going to be noise, just pick it up, move on. But then, so the end of that year came, and I got signed with an agent, and I booked a bunch of jobs. I was like, I want to see if I can do this. I just want to see how many jobs I can book. And it was 7 jobs in a couple weeks on that platform.
A lot.
So I was like, okay, so there's something to this. And the agent that I signed with, I told her, hey, one of my goals, I want to book the biggest thing I can next year. It was at that time, my husband he's also an actor, and he was doing some voiceover stuff. And he realized our closet studio was not going to cut it. He was so frustrated. Our neighbors were just pump, just terrible. So I said, I'm like, there's this company, LA Vocal Booths. My dad, who I'd mentioned, he already got one. And I was like, we could get one and put it in our 1-bedroom at the foot of the bed. And it sounds like an absolute crazy idea, but...
Wait, what is it? What is that?
So I'm sitting at it right now. So it's essentially an isolated 4 feet by 4 feet booth where these panels help block sound from outside. Because the microphone, when you're doing voiceover, the most important thing is you only want it to pick up your voice. You want to kind of get what we call a low noise floor. So it's kind of, I think on set, they get room tone. So essentially when I'm doing a recording or an audition, I will record silence for 10 seconds, and I'm able to take it out. Because, I have a really good booth, but it's not a multi-million-dollar studio here. So I do have a little bit of noise floor that I like to take out. But there's all these panels around me, and there's a door. So it's essentially having a room in a room.
They just sell you a little box, basically.
I'm in a little box. Exactly.
Yeah. Soundproof or sound.
Yeah. It blocks out a lot of the, airplane noises, traffic. It just brings it all down. So we got the booth, and all of a sudden 2021 blew up. Our friend was directing voice dubbing jobs, hiring me, hiring Adam. Ring was calling me. They're like, hey, we want you for these sets of commercials. I was doing an e-learning project, and it just kept rolling in. And I was like, okay, all right, there's something to this. And then what changed everything was the audition that I saw for South Park. And they said, we want Alexa. And I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, AI voices since I was a kid. My dad, he programmed it. This was one of the older ones, but it was it's not my fault, you fucking idiot. And it was one of the earlier Mac, and I think it was Macintosh back then. Now MacBooks. But I was always loving to do robots. And I was like, oh my God, I can do Alexa. I have to audition for this. And so I submitted. And then they, sent yeah, we want to hear your voice. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Not thinking much of it, just being what a gift to just be able to audition, to be called back. And then one thing led to another. I booked it just thinking it was a scene, a single scene. And I didn't have any knowledge going in what it was. And then they told me, this is a character who's the girlfriend of Stan. And we're going to need you for more sessions. And I was like, wait, what?
I got chills. So great.
And this was the height of the pandemic. So, I went to their studios, and it was essentially me and maybe 3 people. There's the engineer, and then there's the booth director. And I mean, all the training from what we were talking about, Svetlana's class, every aspect, really, I utilized it in every single session. And this character just ended up being, I feel when I think about it, I feel it was kind of an homage to all of the theater and acting and crazy stuff that I had accumulated throughout the years of training in college,
Yeah.
It was a dream, because the other part of it that I didn't mention was walking into the studio and seeing they have the puppets from Team America. And my dad, he played on that movie, played on the South Park movie as well. So it just came really like full circle moment of, wow, I wanted to do what my dad did. And now it's like there's this sort of connection there. But yeah, so we did the first special South Park post-COVID. I didn't know anything. Like, I don't know if it was going to be cut or, whatnot until Thanksgiving when it dropped. And I was like, oh my God, this is insane.
I'm in it.
I'm in it. And it's like, there's tons of scene work. And then they're like, well, we'll call you for the next one soon. And then that one turned into even more scenes. And, then I'm playing two Alexas, and she's freaking out at Stan and freaking out at Kyle. Yeah, Stan and Kyle. And she goes ballistic on one of them. And it's just like, it was insane. And just something that I didn't foresee coming. But it really was, I think, what a lot of our teachers would say, with this business, it's being prepared and being at the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
Where I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah, because a lot of times people talk about luck, but it's like, it's when luck meets opportunity meets you knowing your shit.
Yeah, exactly. Because I would go in and, I would do maybe 2 takes, and then they would move on.
Yes.
And I do think like voiceover, it's a mixture of things, because you got to know like genres and the worlds of different places. Like South Park is its own genre, right? Satire, and it's a certain energy, and having to like bring in my actor self along with matching it to what is that world. It's a fun balancing act, and it can be challenging, but really exciting, like, I don't know. I think improvisation really helps with figuring out different genres and like, how do I play in this world? Okay, Rick and Morty's very different from like Family Guy, and then South Park is its own thing.
Yeah. I do have a question. So with South Park, is that something that you like, have you watched that before and everything? Or was it something that before you either A, booked it, or B, when you did book it, like going into a session, were you studying it? Did you take time?
Prep?
Yeah. How much prep did you do to make sure that you could fit into that world?
I was definitely a fan of the show. I wasn't, hardcore, but I watched a lot of it. And in terms of like the prep, I had a playlist. So I had a playlist, but mainly what I did for the first session, all I had were the sides they gave me. Mm-hmm. And in terms of the callback, the adjustments. So I was going back and forth. I had a YouTube video of this guy talking to Alexa, and I would just listen to that over and over again, just really get it in my brain, okay, why don't we do this? Like the random stuff.
The musicality of it, and like
the
hitting
musicality.
Yes.
Yeah, and the inconsistencies where sometimes she sounds human and then she's like, oh, okay, like whatever. Yeah. So
Number 8.
Exactly. And so like you said, there's a lot of musicality to that. And I kind of pushed myself into, okay, what's the musicality of Alexa? And then also bringing in my own actor self. Because what you hear with the South Park movies is pretty much my voice with little bits of Alexa popped in there. So I just really wanted to make sure if they wanted full-on Alexa, know it like the back of my hand,
Yeah, turn it on when you need to.
Yeah. And then the sessions after that, to answer the other question, I occasionally would watch the show, but I'd try to capture, like, there was a phrase or a line from the previous session that really stuck out in my head. And so that would be kind of let me get into the character of it, because she's kind of a bitch, right? And she's nagging at him and like, just my Alexa, you piece of shit, like. So, I would kind of like think about that energy, that type of person, and kind of do that in the car, like on the drive there. And I would listen to, this is so funny, Taylor Swift, You Need to Calm Down was like my song that I would just listen to. And I was like, this is the song for whatever reason.
We need to start a Taylor Swift count of how many times she's mentioned on this podcast.
Many times.
I can assure you it's at least if not every episode, every other episode. Like,
Oh my
legitimately, if
God, I
it's
love
not our
it.
guest, it's us. Love
Love
that.
it.
So
Oh, I
you're
love
listening
that.
to You Need to Calm Down.
Yep.
Yeah, along with just a bunch of other random songs to like pump me up and
Yeah,
like drop into that. But yeah,
amazing.
So then was it after the South Park gig or before that that like VO became your bread and butter and you were able to just solely do that?
I actually, it happened in between. Like, so this is interesting. I was at the point where I was making way more money doing South Park than my day job, which I held on to by a thread. You know, we were doing Zoom classes. And there came a point where I had told them, I couldn't say what it was, but I said, I have a very big gig and I may need to call out and I may need subs. And there was a little pushback on it. And I was like, no. I was like, I need to
I need to step all the
I
way
need to
out.
step away. And that was that was the big scary thing. Because
Yeah, it's
even
your
though
safety net.
that was the safety net. And I'm Buddhist. I practice Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. I chant. Like, it's a very part of my, being grounded and believing in like things I can't see, that kind of thing. Right. And I was really chanting about this. And I'm like, I really need to take this opportunity to like trust myself and to take a risk. It's scary as all hell, but I'm ready to break out. So I remember it was the week I said, hey, I'm going to be leaving the company. If you need a sub gig on Zoom occasionally, okay, I'm there, but it's time. It's been 7 years.
Yeah.
And I remember like thinking, I'm like, I'm going to book a national commercial. And
Yeah.
I'm not kidding you, 7 days later, I booked the green light. And that paid, like, they renewed that thing for about 3 years. So I didn't, like, I would occasionally go in for another session, but it was like renewal, renewal, renewal. And that's where, that's what I tell my students is like, if you can start juggling different jobs where you don't have to think about it, they're just like, oh, we're going to renew in a year. There you go. And you start getting other ones that are like, oh, let's call in Delilah again. Let's keep working with her. Like, that's kind of the freelance thing you got to do.
Yeah.
But so that was kind of the end of the year. And it was doing that as well as like the South Park part 2 and just continuing to do stuff for corporate and explainer voiceovers. There's a lot of work in that. And I try to tell, I'm about to start teaching again. So sorry, I keep mentioning, I tell my students, but like that's how I started. And I'm like, that's really how you can sustain this career is all like the things we think are boring, but they pay really well. They can be pretty fast work if you know how to do them. With the corporate stuff like NASDAQ, Solovis, that was like a part of NASDAQ. They were like, oh, we liked your stuff, call you in a couple months later for another job. And, kind of snowballs like that. But then end of the year happened, South Park, we closed it off and they're like, okay, they called me One Take Wonder at one point and I was like, that's cool. And they're like, we'll see you again soon. And so I was like, okay, great. They're going to have me in. And I didn't hear from them for 3 years. But what I did, I booked a regional grocery store, like I'm their spokesperson. So that was my day job. And that was when we first moved out to Santa Clarita, like maybe a month after. I was like, I need a day job where I don't have to go like find the audition and audition. I just need it. And so I've been with them for like 3.5, 4 years. But it's like this week, get lean ground round, $2.99 a pound. Like that's what it is. And every week, that's my day job. That's my thing, which saved me because my pregnancy, I'm pregnant, and through the first 3 months were terrible.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes.
But yeah, the first 3 months, that was pretty much all I did. Like, I was like, okay, I'm sick.
My head is over a toilet. I physically cannot drive anywhere or I'm going to vomit in my car.
Literally.
And so good thing you do have a home studio.
It was like such a protection, in terms of like I can still work. It was a minimal time commitment and still get paid to do that. But now I'm in the fun part of pregnancy. So
Yeah, you're over that hurdle.
I do want to just highlight, just because I feel like this is a theme happening. We tend to like, I don't know, find these themes and these little like
Each
pockets
season,
of each
yeah.
season. And really we've had a continual theme this season has been like basically knowing when to like maybe not let go of your safety net, but like move on to the next thing. Move on to the next thing that could be a big thing.
When
which
to
is
go all in on
right,
something that you
exactly.
want.
Which is so scary and so hard, especially I think it's really different from like starting out, right? So when you start out, like just starting is like the big thing. And then you do those things for a little bit and that's like sustainable in terms of, or like it fills you because you're like, I'm doing it, like it's happening.
Yeah.
And then you get to a point where this doing it and happening needs to like be progressed, and finding that timing and like the moment that you need to like be like, okay, I really need to push this aside and go all in on this next thing, whatever it be. Because we've talked to PAs who are trying to be producers. We've talked to
costume designers going to costume coordination.
Yeah, and then we've also talked to production designers going into directing.
Yes.
Like those moments have like it's a through line in like basically everyone in the entertainment industry of like, when do I pivot and drop this? And I think it's like, I mean, it wasn't, you said you were doing that one job for like 7 years. And then that's when you dropped it, was whenever things were really starting to like pick up. And I think it's just one of those things, like it's not obvious. And it isn't like, you know, you do this for half a year or a year, maybe it is, but and like you're learning from those jobs. And then eventually it does just like all of a sudden. Yeah.
It isn't, it feels like everyone is vocalized, like it felt like it wasn't obvious at that time and that you're taking a big leap, but looking back on it, every single person can identify when that moment was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
and
really interesting. It's
powerful.
Just very, right. It's just a fun thing to like hear. I don't know. It's been one of those things this season that's like coming up, and maybe it's because that's kind of where we are in our career. And so we're like, we're like picking at it and like being like, where are we, I don't know, finding those moments, but yeah, it's so interesting and so fun to hear and listen. So thanks for telling us.
Yeah. And you also touched upon something that I think is so important, because as much as I appreciate our education and our training, and it totally was a game changer for me. When we graduated, I really had to, like you said, detox, like shed that mindset of competition and that we are all in this together. And that's, you know, on the podcast, we always say like a rising tide lifts all boats. Yes. And so we're like all bringing each other up. And so, and the fact that you said, you know, being in that mindset of things, I know it's your religion and what you believe in, but that resonates with me too. If this is, there are things happening behind the scenes that I might not know, that I might never know. But that concept that like, oh, the TV show that I'm going to star in is being written right now. They don't know me yet, but like that, you know, someone's working on it at their desk, like thinking of the character that I'm going to bring to life. And I love thinking about those things that are working behind the scenes.
Absolutely. I like,
and it sustains you.
It does. And I think it's like, there's also this thing of like, make the impossible possible. That's just like what I kind of try to put out there, where, I mean, talking about this a little separately, but like the pregnancy thing took 3 years. And I really was at some points of doubt, right? And I was like, this is never going to happen.
Yeah.
But can I tell you, I'm going to connect it to South Park. This is very weird, because that was the most fun I had ever had on that job, on those two movies. And I was like, it would be amazing. I'm not ever like going to put all my eggs into that basket that they will call me back. But I had always thought like that'd be incredible to work with them again. And it didn't happen for 3 years until this past year. They called me out of the blue, right? And they were like, hey, so what are you up to this weekend? We want to have you back as Alexa. And I was like, what? And I was, you know, just keeping my cool. And I was like, this is so fucking cool. So I went in there and did an Alexa and then a Chat GPT. And then that was their first episode of season 27, which went viral because they showed Donald Trump naked and all this stuff. And that was, to me, I'd kind of written that off. I was like, that's not going to happen. And because it did, and in the way that it happened, when I was really at a struggling point with the pregnancy stuff not happening, my career was kind of like a little bit flatlined. It really brought this hope back into my life where I was like, you know what? This pregnancy, this baby can happen. Just because you don't see things for several years doesn't mean they are impossible. And then, like later that year, boom, it happened. But it took so much of just, and I think it is connected to like this career of just, sometimes we put out these auditions you never see, you never hear back. You have no idea if it's crap. You have no idea if it's great. Maybe you were considered, but then you sounded like, the producer's wife or whatever. But you just, there's a lot of unknown. And then also with voiceover, it's very isolating. Like I tell these students, I'm like, you got to use your imagination. It's literally you, your microphone, and maybe a director or an engineer. But a lot of this can be very isolating, which I miss that about theater and being on set with other people and collaborating. But it's just that never give up, I think. That's the big thing.
Another thing that, another like, theme or thing that we've heard before is like you will put your art out into the universe, or like you send the email and maybe you don't hear back from them for years, but then maybe you do, or maybe you hear from someone who got your info from someone else because of that one email that you didn't even like think about. I don't know. It's just one of those things that like, it's not necessarily about, which I think is hard as like artists. We want to see how people are reacting to our art.
That like instant gratification.
That instant gratification. Yeah. Like we love like people going to the movie theaters and like being able to like hear the laugh and or being in a theater. But like so much of it is, and I think will continue to be, just putting it out there. And then people like, you don't necessarily hear that feedback. Like the thing is like, I think about like as a child, like growing up watching like the Disney Channel and stuff, like wanting to like, or watching The Parent Trap and wanting to be a part of it. That wasn't happening in a theater. That was happening while I was like rewatching and like rewinding the VHS and watching it again. Yeah. And like, so those are the things that like, I don't know, those moments just, they are private moments with like an audience member that maybe you don't see, but there is a huge impact. So just knowing, I think maybe too, just having that in our minds that
your art is impacting other people without us seeing it,
without knowing, just having to like hold that faith in your heart or your mind that it's reaching someone.
Absolutely.
Right? We just get deep. Wow.
100%.
No, but anyways, so maybe that can be, I mean, I know it's so hard. Like there's going to be moments of like doubt and like not having hope. I mean, I feel it all the time.
Yeah, we talk about this. It's probably coming up. We talk about this constantly, and we're like crowdfunding for our first feature too. So there are moments that we're just like, "This is scary. Here we go, jump in."
And then also there's moments of like, "We're not going to get this. It's just not going to happen." Like and even if there are like flashes, it's just flashes of doubt. Yeah, and then something comes through, a donation comes through, and we're like, we got $20 more or whatever it is, or we got a response, or I don't know. But it is crazy to like there's just really like, it is almost like a religion, this like whole industry type thing, in terms of it being like there really is correcting like blind mindset, and blind faith and like hope and just being able to like, I don't know, push through,
like have something that you can gravitate towards for those moments when you are feeling doubtful. You're like, I don't know, I'm just gonna like throw the dart, see what hits, see what lands.
Right.
But like that trust, I think that there's something in having the fear and doing it that I feel like the universe kind of shows up in the way it's supposed to. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. Because it is so scary.
I didn't know that was going to happen.
Out there.
Yeah. 100%.
Sometimes the worst thing is like not getting a response. Like it's almost like I'd rather be like, this is awful, like get some feedback that this is bad and tell me how to fix it, than like nothing. But that nothing doesn't,
most of the time it's nothing.
Yeah. And also that nothing isn't necessarily like a bad thing either, It could just be nothing for now, but 5 years down the line you may get something from that. So
okay.
So true.
Sorry, we got deep there, but I was like, you're saying,
I love that.
Resonate with everything. I do have a shit ton of logistical questions because I feel like voiceover is it's like this magical thing that if you know about it, you know about it. And if you don't, you're out of the box. Like you're literally outside of it. Like, if you could shed some light on it or even just debunk some things that I've heard. So is it still primarily Voices 123, or are there other platforms if you don't have a rep specifically in voiceover that you recommend?
I personally, I got lucky with Voice 123. I know it's a bit different now, but when I was doing it, I was able to like get seen, get heard, get the jobs. But I still use Voice 123. That's how I got that job, the 4-year grocery store job, right? So
Yeah.
there's voices.com, which I have, but I don't. So there's like a free account and then there's ones you pay for. And the ones you pay for, you're going to get more auditions. So
Yeah.
it is a little annoying, right? That there's the algorithms, and then that's kind of
That's
how
the first
you.
time I've heard it with the algorithm. But I mean, that's literally the same as Actors Access. If you don't
Mhm.
have like little slate shots, or if you don't have media that you have to pay for every single time you upload, your thing
Yeah.
isn't going to climb to the top like other people. I mean, that's across all
Yeah.
platforms, I think.
Yeah. They voice, and it's interesting. There's 2 women that they specialize in teaching about like how Voice 123 works, because it's always shifting too. Like even
Mhm.
like the creators are like, well, you as the paying client, you are helping to change the algorithms and the things that you write. It's like, here's the accents I can do, or here's like conversational, they have all these like different categories of like how to describe your voice so that a client
Mm.
can find you easier. I've definitely had good traction with them. There's voices.com, there's Bodalgo, which I'm new to. I think they're a European company, and you have to send in your stuff. You have to send in your demos. They're not going to let just anybody, they kind of vet you first. So I've been using them maybe for the last year, and that's been fine. But what I tell people at the beginning, I found stuff on Backstage. And let me tell you, it was like through New York Film
Interesting.
Academy. They film at or record at Burbank Studios. So
Ah,
professional quality stuff. I did
yeah,
like an anime, and then I did a voice dubbing thing, which funny enough, I used to get that audition for Alexa because it was an AI voice. And I was like, this
yeah,
is perfect. So that was a great way to, I didn't get paid for it, but it's professional quality sound. You're getting it for your demos or
yep,
to just submit yourself for auditions. And then Actors Access definitely has some big ones like dubbing stuff. Occasionally, like stuff for South Park, I think will pop up. The other ones I have, I mean, Casting Networks and Casting Frontier, hit or
okay.
miss, but there are some voiceover jobs that do pop up on there. You just got to be really careful about the in perpetuity clause and how much they are
Yes.
paying for that. There's a whole, and if there's any people who are like, I want to look up rates, look up GVAA rate guide. They have put together this extensive list of like, here's what you should be charging if you are non-union. They are comparable to SAG rates, but just so everybody knows, like right now, non-union, there's tons of non-union voice work. That's just kind of how it is right now. I'm not saying there's not SAG work, but I'm SAG eligible. I haven't joined yet, but I've sustained my career right now through a lot of non-union. So there's pluses and minuses. Yeah.
Our
What else
other
can I
friend who does voiceover, two of our other friends who do voiceover are the same way. They're either eligible or one of them's FICOR, which means she joined the union, but FICOR, like, you relinquish any like union benefits, but
Mhm.
and you're able to do both. But because voiceover and commercials are her bread and butter, and then like not only voiceover but commercials too, and video
Yeah.
games, a lot of it's non-union.
Yeah. And I've heard that too, that there's a lot of voice actors who they're like, I have to go FICOR because I have to put
That's my
food on the
job.
table. That's my
Yeah,
job. Yeah.
to make a living. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and I know there's a lot of like back and forth and pull and tug. And I've had a lot of conversations of like, you know, I did a job for Wells Fargo, and that was SAG. So that got me the SAG eligibility. But the next job I get, I'm going to have to join and, at some point make that decision. But
Mhm.
it's tricky because I'm like, oh, there's really good health benefits if you make that quota. And I'm like, but I just don't know what that other side, looks like. I know it looks really good for like, if you get those car commercials,
Yeah, like
Man.
when you book something, it's amazing, but it's the fact that it's such a limited amount of work, and that's
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so those are kind of the main platforms that I use. And then I have a regional agent in Chicago right now. I was kind of in between agents for a while. So, but yeah, I just booked my first job with them yesterday for a pretty big
Woo!
company. I'll let you know when it comes out. But
Yeah, congrats.
that was really fun. And yeah, there's a lot of tech stuff involved. Man, yeah, the working from home as a voice actor, you kind of have to like you're the actor director, and then you're like your own engineer kind of
Oh
because the
gosh. Yeah.
equipment, figuring out the systems, the so Source Connect is a big one. It's
That's
where
what I was going to ask you about next, because that's
yeah.
how you get notes in real time from directors, right? Don't you like hop on a live with
Yeah.
them?
So
Okay.
what Source Connect does, so I've done stuff on Zoom and then I just record it into I use Adobe Audition to record my stuff. But the great thing about Source Connect is that you are live with another studio where an engineer is literally kind of taking off your recording through the internet and they are editing in real time. And
That's
if
crazy.
there's like a sound thing, they're like, oh, we need to stop, hold, go back. So I used Source Connect yesterday. And, you know, when I first was learning it, they have a course which will teach you, here's the basics you need to know. It's intimidating because it's a lot. And you're like, how do
Here
I
are the
map
basics. You
the
need to
port?
memorize this manual. Jesus.
Yeah. So, but they have really good customer service too. And I upgraded the newest version of Source Connect is way easier. I was like, oh, I don't have to do all these weird things beforehand. And that's what we used yesterday. And it's a subscription, like a monthly subscription,
Yep.
like a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of the commercials that I see, people prefer they're like, we can record. Some of them are like in studio, but we prefer a professional home studio with Source Connect. Yeah, so
Because
that's
that way
kind of
they
the new
can get
thing.
anyone from all around. They don't have to
Exactly.
book a studio close to you. It
Yeah.
cuts the cost, I'm sure.
Cutting the cost 100%. And I had to tell my agent, I was like, listen, Thursdays, I'm in a townhouse community. We have gardeners and garbage trucks kind of in and out all day. It's the noisiest day. But if they don't care, I'm fine. I'm fine with it. And they were fine. The engineer's like, oh, yeah, I deal with this all the time with actors and I can like edit stuff out and add things in. I'm like, cool. Takes
Amazing.
pressure off me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's good to know that, and it's good to vocalize that and say that up front, because you felt comfortable being like, okay, yeah, I want to, I booked this job. However, this is the reality on Thursdays, and it ended up being okay. But it's good to know. I mean, it just shows your professionalism that like this is what we're working with, and these are the parameters around it.
Yeah, because I put it upon myself. I'm like perfectionist where I'm like, oh my
Yep.
gosh, an airplane. Oh my gosh, dogs barking. And I'm like, I can't control that. Like
Yeah.
this is just since, post COVID, everything moved, a lot of things moved to having your own home studio. And people can order all this equipment on well, some of it on Amazon, but like the booth, you could get like I had mine custom made on through LA Vocal Booths because we had a tiny corner in our apartment and I was like,
Yeah.
this is what we got. But
When
yeah.
you moved to the new place that you're at now,
Mhm.
was it was able to be mobile, and you were able to like pack it up and move it?
Yeah, so we actually we hired their company to pack it for us because
Oh,
this
good.
place we have stairs in the so it needed to be in the upstairs area. But essentially, all of these panels, all of these walls come apart. I don't know if I would say it's easy for me, but when we first got it, Adam and I were like, we're gonna build this ourselves. We don't want to pay extra, and it was a shit show. It was like
Yeah.
trying to get the door in. Like I accidentally dropped a little panel on Adam's foot as we were pulling
No.
stuff in. I felt so bad, but the way that they make their products it's fantastic. Like there's these little black clasps that you pull up on each. They're connecting all the walls, and so that's kind of part of it. It's just heavy. It's heavy. Like it's not. I'm not going to take it to my mom's if I like go up for the weekend. It's not
No,
that kind of
no.
travel. There's
Yeah,
companies
no.
that do travel mobile, vocal booths, but yeah, this one comes out and it's great. I love it.
And then, so you do have a history with teaching, but how did transitioning to teaching with the UCLA extension, how did that start? How, like, and you said you have a class coming up. So like, tell us about that class.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny. A friend of mine, he's a film actor. He teaches at UCLA Extension, and he had seen my stuff on Facebook of just like, hey, do this and that. And he had asked me a while ago, he's like, there's this other college he teaches at. They're looking for a voiceover instructor. And I was like, oh, I couldn't possibly. Like, I've just started. I don't know. A lot of doubt. And then he asked me again when we moved here about UCLA Extension. And I was like, okay, this is really challenging me in the ways of how I sometimes feel like I'm an imposter or that I doubt I know things about voiceover. And I said, I can do the interview and see what happens, and they can either take me or leave me, but I'm just going to like put my cards on the table. And it was
Let someone
cool.
else tell you no.
Say again.
Let someone else tell you no.
Don't tell yourself
I
no.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another theme.
Yeah.
Yep.
Getting out of your own way.
Yep.
Getting out of your own way. And it's amazing with that program. They really just want people who are working in the industry to just share what they know. They're like, you don't have to be the best teacher. Like, not that they don't want the best teacher, but you like just really teaching what you know. And once that was communicated to me, I was like, oh, okay. And I have 11 weeks to do whatever I want. I was like, that's a lot. Because voiceover classes, maybe they're 4 to 5 weeks long, but they're specializing in like one subject. If it's like commercial beginners, like that's where it's at. Or if it's animation, video game, voice dubbing, like, but to have 11 weeks, I was like, what am I going to do? But it was really exciting, saying yes to the job and then being like, okay, like this is what I want it to be and I can change it. And so, yeah, I was bringing that teaching from the science job I had, bringing that into this. And it turned into such an amazing thing. My late grandfather was a professor of flute and piccolo at Northwestern for like 35 years.
Oh,
and he recently passed. But like the last conversation I had with him, I had asked, I'm an instructor at UCLA Extension. What advice can you give me? And all he said, it was really sweet. He was just like, know the lesson you're going to teach. And I was like, awesome. That's all I need.
And then you'll be set. Just know it.
That's it. And it was so sincere. And I was like, okay, it actually helps me, I think, be a better voice actor because I have to specifically say, this is how I get to this technique or how I approach this copy instead of just kind of doing it and not that I'm not thinking about it, but having to communicate it to somebody else and people who have never done voiceover ever. It's a challenge, and it's a beautiful challenge to have because I'm like, okay, so now I need to learn how to explain this differently. Just like in acting class, like change the tactic. Tactic's not working. Change the tactic. Change how you approach it. So it really was one of those things that kind of fell into my lap, and I was very grateful because this will be my third year. I'm only teaching like 2 times a year, but they're wonderful. They're letting me teach fully on Zoom because I usually go into the class and I set up all the equipment and I'll break it all down. And I said I'm pregnant. I can't do all of that right now. So it's been really, really great. I think they cap it at like 16, but right now I think I have 13 students.
Wow, that's really intimate class.
Yeah. And I still feel like it's 3 hours and I'm always like, oh, I want to go over this. And it never feels like enough time. Yeah. But it starts the first week of April. It's like Tuesday nights. So I don't know when this is coming out, but that'll be March 30th maybe.
Oh, cool.
So I have to it's
coming up.
It's fun. It's coming up. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask you like all these, like, what's the difference between this, and this? But like people just need to go take your class. And I mean, you've already taught it 3 times, so I'm sure you'll keep doing it. Maybe a little hiatus for the baby, but then, they'll get you back. I did have one last one just because we see this sometimes and we don't. Not so much about VO,
Mhm.
but like you said, you and Adam are both actors, and what is it like having a creative partner as your life partner? How is that?
Uh,
Navigating that.
it's really amazing. I think he did a session for a video game like 2 days ago, and then the next day I did a voiceover session, and we were just talking about like, this was a pipe dream when we were kind of first together, and we had this idea that like starting a family too and freelancing don't
Yeah.
go together, but that's not true. I think it's
Mhm.
it's really about being a team and also there were several years where he would do a show for 3 months or I would be out for 2 or 3 months, and we just got used to that, not always being with each other for that amount of time. And now it's been like a couple years, and we've always been in the same place mostly for the same amount of time. But actually there was an opportunity where he was going to maybe do something in New York for a couple months during my third trimester. And we talked about that. And I said, if I wasn't pregnant, I would let you do that. But I'm like, the
Yeah.
emotions for me right now, I'm going to have to say no.
Yeah.
No, and he was
Yeah.
totally on board. He's like, absolutely.
I feel like any woman would probably say that. It's like for any pregnancy, whether it's your
Yeah.
first or your third, and I think you're hitting the nail on the head. It's about communication and it's about honesty. And they're asking you for a
Yeah.
reason. So let's be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, but that was tough because I was like, I know like that he really wanted, to do theater in New York. And I was like, we have to trust like another is gonna come along. But it was it wasn't 2 or 3 months. I exaggerate. I think it was like 5 weeks. And I was like, if it was 1 week, I'd be okay. But 5 weeks is still like that's not it's not
The
gonna
third
cut it.
trimester. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, you're getting close. It's not, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's been really wonderful just, and us talking about like how we're gonna navigate it when there's a baby here, and uh, it's exciting, and it's
Yeah.
also it's very stressful at times,
Mm.
like some months like the balance will shift in terms of the like the income, like cuz that's freelancing. Like
Yeah.
I haven't really booked a job since the one I did yesterday for a while. Like I've gotten little things here and there, but sometimes it's peaks and valleys for both of us.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Yeah.
also, because you're freelance, you can work with each other and someone can be home with your baby and, not have to stress about daycare when they're 4 months old. And because that's a whole other thing too.
Yeah.
So it's nice. There are definitely pluses to your guys' situation. And, I brought you on when Jess and I were talking and I was like, this is who Delilah is. And I was like, she's killing it, but also she's just such a wonderful person. I was like, we didn't in
Aw.
school, like, I don't think we didn't cross paths a lot. Like our programs were so
No.
like into it in their years, because we
Yeah.
were in different years and different shows. But I'm just like, she was always pleasant in the hallways. She was always nice
Aw.
to everybody. I've never heard or uttered a bad word about her. She's just always so sweet. Same with Adam. And so, I think also
Aw.
another common theme is like, good people find each other. And like when you find those people, you want to hang on to them. And so you've been literally since season one, you were on our season one spreadsheet. I'm like, oh, it was like working up the confidence to ask you. I was like, we got to get Delilah eventually. We
Oh
got to
my
get
gosh.
Delilah.
Oh, that's so sweet.
But yeah,
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming on.
All right, last question is just we like to manifest here
Yep.
and like
Yes.
end goal set, but like really it's just like speaking out our wants and needs and into the universe. And you can tell us like either like 1 year, 5 years, 10 years down the line, whatever you're like hoping. Maybe it's like a certain like with your career if you want to work on a certain genre or like be a regular on a show or whatever it is, just like what are you going to speak into existence that you want in the future in your career. And obviously we know in having our baby healthy is like I'm sure the biggest
100% a
thing.
smooth delivery, as
Yeah.
smooth as
Oh
it
my
can
God.
possibly be.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
been the biggest on my mind. Smooth
Yeah.
delivery for
Yep.
July. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I love that question. I think manifesting some type of animated show. I think adults comedy is where I kind of thrive in, you know, that South Park, maybe Family Guy, but I don't know. It hasn't come into existence yet, but I would love to just be in a pilot of something that takes off. And then it's like, it's, you know, where I can just kind of be my crazy self and let the shit loose.
Well, all the writers out there, listen up, start writing.
I don't know if it's Comedy Central or, you know, was I going to say Cartoon
Adult
Network?
Swim still?
Adult Swim. That's what I was thinking of, Adult Swim. But yeah, or even stuff, you know, that I see on Netflix. Like, I would love to do that. And I would love to be a part of something where I can sing, because I love singing, but I'm shy on stage.
So good. Your voice is so good.
Thank you.
Good. Yeah.
But that's the kicker, is like when I'm on stage, I get a little nervous, but when I'm behind a mic, I'm like, let's fucking go, you know?
Yeah, let it rip. Let it rip.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on our pod.
Yeah, we think the world of you.
Much.
Yeah, so we'll have all the info in the show notes. But yes, if people are just listening, where can people find you to follow your career?
Instagram, Delilah Kujala -VO. It's the same on TikTok. And my website is delilahkujala.com. And I'm starting to offer voiceover coaching too. So yeah, check that out.
Amazing. Yeah. And again, those will be linked in the show notes. So
yeah, thank you so much.
Such a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, now for everyone listening and all of us, go
get
set.
The Get Set podcast is created, edited, and produced by Jessica Payne and Monique Schwaneman of Old Girls Entertainment. Original music composed by the incredibly talented Kyle Hall. You can follow him on his social media at Kyle Hall Music.
If you vibed with this episode and our mission of bringing to light different career paths within an industry, especially for women, subscribe, leave a review, and share us with a friend. Thanks, friend.